the race progresses, but all these drivers are coasting around turn 12 now. The Ineos Grenadier safety car has peeled into the pit lane here, and we're set to go. We're going to be waiting for a green flag and those reds to go out. Who's going to get the jump and who's going to get the run down to turn 1? The tension is building. This is going to be fantastic, folks. Take a look out the window because we are underway now. And feel the thunder as they roll past the start-finish line. It's a great start for Courtney. It's not a great start for Courtney Prince. She's actually bogged it down a little bit. Steve Lacey gets a great jump. Ben Shoots from 4th, finds his way to 2nd. He'll be stoked with that, having that first race outing in that Sin R1 for quite some time. So he'll be very happy to slot in front of the number 8 there. So Courtney Prince recovers to 3rd, ahead of the number 111 car of Grant Donaldson.
God, she's all over his mirrors though. Ben Shoots was going to have to do a lot to keep defending Courtney, because I'm not sure what happened there, whether she missed a gear or whether she just, I'm not sure whether she got bunched in, but she's going to get in front of Ben. Ben's going to have to do some good work. Ben's
already trying to make that Sin as wide as possible, but he's letting Courtney just go right up the inside there at Honda. So that will be 2nd position for Courtney Prince, making her way back up there. We are live streaming on our YouTube channel, but for Facebook viewers, take a look at blendline.tv/live as well. It's great to have you on board wherever you're watching around Australia and indeed the world. Can't thank you enough for joining in, and you can strap yourselves in for some great sports car action here as they stream across the top of the hill. So this is the battle for 4th position here. Grant Donaldson just holding off the number, I believe that's the 66 behind him, currently being piloted by Matt Slavin.
And we've got Daniel Quimby, the 16-year-old, desperately trying to hold off Andy Hall there in the Cup car. Oh, Andy's done an early dive. Oh, he's just made that through. Nice one. So Daniel Quimby is the 16-year-old. He won Formula 4 in America last year, and he's got sponsorship to do Formula 3 in America next year, and he's going to be doing sprint. So he's going to be between America and Melbourne all year next year. Amazing for a 16-year-old. Here they come down the straight.
Unbelievable stuff. They cross the stripe for the first time in anger, and the order is the number 78 of Stephen Lacey leading the way. Courtney Prince has pulled that gap right back in that rapid number 8 R8 Evo 2. We're just waiting for timing to update on our end as well as the rest of the field pours through. There's so much variety of cars here. Anywhere you look, there's a number of beautiful Porsche flat sixes, a few V10s, a lot of V8s around here. It's just for a racing fan in general, not even a sports car fan, a racing fan in general, just seeing these cars getting thrashed around is heaven.
Well, actually seeing an S, like we see on screen, which is Sven Burkhardt from Callis Kenny Intellects Lawyers. Sven is a lawyer full-time. I asked him what he feels like when he gets in the car, and it's absolute flow state. He said, this is where I calm down, this is where I chill out. But to be actually be able to see, sorry, I'm tongue-tied because I'm too excited about it, a 997.2 Cup S on the track being used. These are museum pieces now that people are trying to preserve and keep in mint condition, and they should be out here. They love this stuff. Porsches love being raced, the Mark cars love being raced, they should not be locked away.
Exactly right, and we love to see them turning wheels out here in anger. I'd love to see this number 95 as well, because it was in bits in the pit paddock earlier today.
I did see some bolts.
Missed qualifying completely. They were working on the differential for that one, or something along in the rear end, trying to figure out what was going on there. But they would have missed qualifying, so it was a rear of grid start from the number 595 of Jeff Taunton. Got out there in the sports car race. There's a lot of smoke on the screen there. We'll have to see who that's coming from. It may be Ben Shoots, but we'll keep an eye on that one as that progresses. You can see it pluming from the back of the Sin R1 as it crosses the stripe up ahead. That is not ideal for Ben Shoots. That car had a lot of pace, but he's not looking in a good spot. I hope he's not dropping oil for the sake of keeping this race running.
True.
And hopefully there's not a whole lot that's actually gone wrong with that car, but we'll see how it pans out as the race continues.
That will be heartbreaking. The team, Ben Shoots and his dad, have done such a great job to pull that car back from being almost right off at Bathurst. I did speak to Ben today. They're still figuring some things out. He thought he was a bit low on pace, but that could be yet another issue that we weren't aware of.
He's pulled to the inside. He's basically, that looks to be almost race done there. So he may very well pull into the escape road as he rounds turn 3 here. What a shame for Ben Shoots in the Sin R1. He's just come off of, it certainly hasn't, even though the car hasn't been racing a whole lot, he is going to still keep it out there.
He's limping it.
He's limping it home at this stage. Even though the Sin R1 hasn't been getting much track action, Ben Shoots certainly has a full campaign in Fanatec
yeah, the Mercedes. Yeah, he's been doing well. I mean, he had a bit of an off here at Phillip Island, which was horrible to see. But yeah, he's back racing, which he should be. Ben is a consummate professional, fantastic race car driver, and absolutely dominated state series in the production sports car category for a long time. In fact, he would usually lead by a lap, if not a lap and a half, over Andy and Jamie Lovett. So yeah, it's sad to see him retire so early. If he is actually retiring, I think he's trying to limp it all the way back.
Now, that number 95 car of Jeff Taunton started at the rear of the grid. It's all over the back of the 111 now. It is miles ahead of where it was. That's for the battle for third position. What a fantastic run it's been so far for Jeff Taunton. He'll be stoked with that.
I know, and how much racing is he doing this weekend? He's come from, what was he in before?
He was racing that same car. He finished second in the sports sedans earlier today as well.
Obviously, he's doing some testing at Island Magic.
Getting some very well-needed hours in for that number 95 car. And it's looking rapid, sounding fantastic as well. That's one of the things I love about those marked cars so much, is they sound glorious when they
Matt,
fly
I
past.
got to tell you, I'm just looking at the timing. Courtney Prince has pulled a 1:28.69. It's 31 degrees outside, and she's pulled a 1:28.
Absolutely rapid. The air is so warm. It's not really suiting the temperatures of these cars, and Ben Schutz has come to the pit lane, unfortunately. We can just see him rolling down. What a shame for Schutz there. Hopefully he'll be able to get that one back up and running for the rest of the weekend, but in the meantime, we've got plenty of action still happening out on the tarmac, including a battle here between Jeff Taunton and that's the 130 of Andy Hall, making his way around the outside on the exit of Honda, so I'm not sure if Taunton's had a moment there.
Not sure, couldn't see it. I don't know if we'll get a replay. Two of them are very experienced drivers, been around a long time. Andy will give room, but not too much. He won't give you the competitive edge, and Jeff's the same. They're not giving you any gifts.
I think he may have, because he was all over the back of that 111 car we see there, and he's fallen right off the pace. We see a couple of Porsche 911 cycle through behind there, and he's fallen back 3 spots, has the number 95, and now he's all over the back of Andy Hall. He's going to be sharing that car with a very familiar name to a lot of you in motorsport. Ex-V8 supercar driver Rodney Forbes will be jumping in that one later today.
Yeah, I did ask Rodney what his best achievement was in motorsport, and he said leaving V8. I don't know why I didn't ask any more questions, but anyway, yeah, he's happy to be in the Cup car this weekend. I absolutely knew Jeff Taunton would get it over him on the straight.
So let's have a look here. This is a replay of Honda corner. This might give some, there we go. So he has rotated the car onto the inside of Honda there. No harm, no foul, except for his position on track. And that's why he was just recovering there to get back on track behind the 130.
Andy did really well to slow there and not have a collision. So he was on a roll, and he did really, really well there. Speaking to Andy earlier, he said he was a little bit off pace and feeling a little bit not 100% in the car. So, I mean, this heat's not going to do anyone any favours. I don't know whether he meant that he wasn't feeling well or whether he just didn't know where he was losing pace.
Pressure's on now as well. He's got mirrors full of Daniel Quimby, the 16-year-old from New South Wales. He's gone right up the inside, makes that move look easy, but he is feeding that wheel as much as possible, using all of the runoff and a little bit more to hold that on. They're going to go side by side, but Daniel Quimby's going to hold that as they come through the left-hander at Siberia.
What a great battle. We're watching a 997.2 and a 991.2 Cup car battling it out. The 997s, you've really got to wrestle, Matt. You really, really, really have to choke those things to get them in and out the corners. And the 991's a little bit easier, but Porsches in general, it's a good battle in and outside the car.
It certainly is, and it's great to see, like when you see a driver like Daniel Quimby, who has not really had a whole lot of running in this car lately, especially because he's been jetting overseas, doing a lot of running in US.
He was in LA 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
And now to jump in this car and just be lighting the place up, it's awesome to see. It's such a great young talent behind the wheel of that car.
Bulletproof when you're 16 though, Matt. His dad's struggling with the jet lag at the moment.
Certainly no signs of jet lag in that machine there. The number 70 machine being driven by Daniel Quimby. He's partnering with Andrew Smith, who's going to be jumping in for the second race later today, and they'll be sharing the car for the 1 hour excursion tomorrow. Can't wait for that one, but this sprint race is already putting on some great action so far. Courtney Prince is out the front, nowhere to be touched at the moment, still leading this race by a long shot. Behind them, we've got a little bit of a battle here. So Quimby has started pulling a little bit of a gap here to Andy Hall, and I don't think Andy Hall's, he's trying his best to hang on to the back of that number 70 911 in front of him, but Daniel Quimby's just brilliant with that car.
I was having a chat to him earlier in the pits, and I said, Daniel, the lines that you're pulling coming out of turn 12, and you're using all of that ripple strip in the 997, is that unnerving? And he went, I didn't notice.
Especially after those who saw the sports car race earlier before, you see what happens if you get a little bit too far out on that curbing on the exit of 12. Rand McClurkin Sr. touched it in his Corvette and speared off into the gravel as we see a battle here. That's the number 447 of Sunil Vora, who some of you will probably know as the CEO of Motorsport Australia, getting his hands behind the wheel once again and getting stuck in. Great to see some action from him.
Absolutely, game getting out there. Sunil hasn't had much race experience in the last little while. He gets in and gets out. He's far too busy to be out here every other weekend. But I asked him how he was feeling about it before. He said, look, I'm just bringing it home and I'm bringing myself home and I just want to get out there and have the experience. So I do need to tell you guys watching that There is a race going on, a championship race going on here for the production sports cars that Andy Hall is the president of that category. So between him and Tim Wolf, this weekend we could have some point swapping and maybe a championship being not robbed, but taken out of Andy Hall's hands. But then we've got a heap of other guys that have come in for Island Magic specifically. So they're not racing for a championship. They're not racing for points. So there's no reason to do any risky moves or take any risky dives. And just bring the car home and see what you can do and have a great weekend.
Looks like this battle has caught back up to the number 447 here. So that's Stephen Sluger in the number 68, just ahead of, I believe that's the 67 of Tim Leithhead, currently driving that mark. Sorry, that is the 34. That's the other mark Focus, and that is being steered by Jonathan Crossing, the Queenslander, right now. So it's a really tight battle here as Stephen Sluger, the Victorian, in that Porsche 991.1 GT3 Cup car, has taken the lead of this battle. Great scrapping all the way up and down. And as we alluded to earlier, we've got all different, classes of sports cars in this race, different categories, whatnot. But they can still get out there, duke it up, throw elbows, and have a great race, even though they're not necessarily all evenly matched on pace.
Well, look, you can see yourself between Quimby and Hall that you can have a 997 go toe-to-toe with a 991 Cup car quite easily. The movable factor in the car is the driver. And we've got quite a varied range of skill sets and experience in the drivers this weekend. Michael Kokonos, for example, in the LMS that he's sharing with Courtney Prince this weekend, has done Fanatec GT, won the Trophy Series in 2022, but has had all of 4 years racing experience. Courtney's come up through karts, then Formula 4, and she's done a bit of the Pointer-Dixon Carrera Cup.
Carrera Cup, yes.
Yeah. So, we've got a real mix of great young stars, and older guys. Sven Burkhardt has been racing for 27 years.
And that's what we love about events like this. It's not just like races like this production sports car, but Island Magic in general. You can get all sorts of drivers from all walks of life at different stages in their careers, all out on track, battling it out with each other, and it's just great to see. And yeah, Courtney Prince, as you mentioned, she is still very young, but I remember seeing her, quite a few years ago, still going through Victorian State Formula Ford as well, so she's been around the traps for quite some time. Very, very fast driver, and it's so good to have her gracing the track so we can enjoy the show that she's putting on. I'm just taking a look out the window. She's absolutely miles ahead of the rest of the competition at this stage. Yeah. So we go back to this battle here between Vora and the number 34 of Jonathan Crossing in that mark Focus behind him, trying to get as much of a draft as possible. The wind isn't blowing too much here at Phillip Island, so the slipstream isn't as potent as it normally is, as we see him going up the inside there of Vora through 3. Right up ahead of them, the number 68 of Stephen Sluger has just pulled miles ahead. He's got daylight, second and third in between them in that battle there. So that number 68 machine is flying ahead.
Yeah, there is the wind won't be a factor, but the turbulence wash will be, which is a bunch of hot air being blown onto your car when you're either tailing someone or passing someone. And that can slow you down because it's actually like a big puff of hot smoke coming into the car and the engine goes, oh, what is that? So it does take it back a little bit, makes it a little bit slower, and you want clear air, you want clean air, you don't want anyone around you or in front of you, and you get faster and faster and faster. But for those watching, you might be wondering why the Mark cars are giving the Porsches a run for their money. These cars, the Porsches and the Mark cars, are strong where the others may not be so strong. The Porsches are phenomenal cornering, they've got great handling, they've got grip for days, but they can lack sometimes on straight line power. So these Mark cars have that. They've got bucket loads of horsepower. So it's actually a pretty good matchup. I think there will be a handicap for the Mark cars tomorrow, bigger than the Porsches. Maybe 10 seconds in the pits, but we'll see.
So it is worth touching on that handicap a little bit because that will become pretty interesting in the feature race tomorrow. Because what that will boil down to is every car has to make a compulsory pit stop, whether they need to do a driver change or not. So if you don't need to change drivers, you just have to sit there for your time that's allotted to you, and that's dished out based on how quick you are and just sort of bring the field in a bit closer. But if you're just in a solo pattern, all you just got to do is sit there, have a cup of tea, whatnot, relatively speaking. But if you're the number 8 car, for instance, Michael Kokonos, 6 foot something, compared with Courtney Prince, nowhere near that sort of height.
There's a young lady.
Little bit more there. They've got to swap out a seat insert. They've got to change the height of the seat. They've got to change the angle, like the distance from the pedals as well. Yeah, do the driver change, never mind that, and make sure they can get everything all tidied up because they probably won't have a whole lot of penalty time to spare after that.
They'll probably need all of their handicap time. But the other thing, when you're in the pits, if it's a minute and a half, your tyres are cooling down, your brakes are cooling down. So that starts to even up the race again. And if after we go through the pit car or the pit stops tomorrow and the driver changes, if we get a safety car after that, all bets are off. It could be anyone's.
Now, this battle, we thought we was done and dusted earlier on, but the number 130 of Andy Hall is caught right onto the back of Daniel Quimby here as they go side by side across the stripe. He's trying to have a look, but Quimby's holding him off and will get the line through turn 1. So it's great racing between these two 911s here right now as they go right past, I believe that is the number, I'm not sure which car that is, the white with the sort of martini stripes.
Yeah, the martini Porsche.
Just gets out of the way of that battle, lets them go on and have their fun there. So those ones are plugging away at the front there. Just going to take some quick stock of where the field stands at the moment. So it is Courtney Prince leading from De Alessandro. That is Anthony De Alessandro of the 101 car. That's a Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport, I believe that machine is. In my notes, I may have that completely wrong.
No, that's right. I'm not sure that the timing is. That seems off.
We'll keep an eye on that one. The timing's been all over the place for this race so far. Look at this! Side by side through Siberia. Daniel Quimby gets back up the inside of Andy Hall. Awesome scrapping between these two. Hall is going to try and hold on to the back of this one. They won't go side by side past the hayshed here, but this battle is far from over. It was a pretty treacherous part of the track, this corner right here earlier in the day, because we did have a car drop some oil and they had to put some oil down there, so it got a bit slippery, but that looks to have all cleared up. So cars going in full send across Lukey Heights, which is good to see. And now Andy Hall is all over the back of Daniel Quimby once again, ducking and weaving, trying to find the right line through 11 and 12 here. The most important thing will be how much momentum can he get.
What
oh my goodness, there's been a massive crash on the front straight. Sorry to cut away from that one.
God.
That is Jeff Taunton. You can see the front bar on the left, the car on the right. That thing has nosed into the fence. Yellow flags are out immediately. That will surely be a safety car, if not a red flag. That is a big hit. The door is open. Jeff Taunton is moving in the car. He looks to be all good. The damage looks to be mostly contained to the front of the car.
Red flag, we're being told now, Matt.
That is 100% a red flag. There is debris on the main straight, and he may have been involved with the number 24 that we were talking about before. That car is stranded on the inside of turn 12, just before where we saw the 95 go off onto the main straight there. So everyone has slowed right down. This race has been suspended, brought to a halt. We hope everyone's all right in that, but that was a massive incident. We just caught the back end of it here up in the commentary box, so we didn't see what happened live. We'll keep our fingers crossed for the drivers involved here. Jeff Taunton, we can see moving the car. I think, hopefully, at the very least, he'll just have a bruised ego and be very annoyed with himself. But
look, to take the front end off the car, we're not seeing it yet live on the commentary. I'm looking outside the box. The front end is off the car. Jeff is moving inside the car, which is a good sign, but he would have had an absolute decent shunt from that collision. That's not a minor incident.
It certainly isn't. So red flags are out. The proceedings have been brought to a halt so far as we wait for the cleanup here and we check to make sure everyone's all right and get the cars moved out of the way here. In the meantime, we really have to give a massive shout out to all of our officials who help us out here at Island Magic and all throughout all of our racing that we do here. Our officials, our medical staff, our flag marshals that you're seeing on screen here, a lot of them are volunteers and we cannot go racing without them. They are so generous in donating their time and their effort and their energy to make sure that we can all go racing on the weekends, and we cannot thank them enough. If you want to be a part of motorsport from one of the closest seats in the house, from those marshalling points, from those vantage points, motorsport.org.au/officials is the place to go. They're always on the lookout for more people to help out at these events. So we cannot thank you enough. If you can hear us on the PA flag is down there, give us a wave. Thank you so much for all of your efforts throughout the Island Magic weekend as they continue waving those red flags. We're seeing all the cars filter into the pit lane now. So recovery vehicles are on the main straight right about now. We're just getting everything sorted out.
Sorry, Matt. For everyone watching, we're not showing it on the coverage. Just want to let you know that Jeff is out of the car. He seems okay. Helmet's off. He's talking to the officials. So that's a great sign. Again, this is racing. This is what can happen in racing. These guys are all very careful. There's a lot of money out there on the track in these cars. I can't imagine anyone was being incredibly reckless. We've got a replay coming, so let's see what's going on here.
In the meantime, the race has been declared. It is done and dusted. On paper, Courtney Prince is the winner, but that's not the most important thing right now. Just looked to have lost it all on his own there. Caught the inside wall and the front end just flew off. From this angle and this distance, it didn't look like a particularly hard impact, thankfully. And by seeing the bodywork coming off there. There looks to be a little bit of fire underneath the front of the car there as well. There's no fire burning now.
It almost looked, Matt, like he had lost control between 11 and 12 because he was sideways coming through 12. Not sure what happened there, if there's debris on the track or oil, or not sure if there's something wrong with the car. Lucky, very, very, very lucky that everyone coming through is okay, that no one else got caught up in that collision. That is frightening, and that's the reality of racing, unfortunately.
A really well put together event. All the flag marshals, all the medical officials, race control, all the other trackside workers and volunteers here. We cannot thank them enough, and we've got plenty of action still to come as well. This is a 60-minute endeavour, which the clock has just started on, I believe. So they'll be forming up, I believe, at the end of this lap to make that proper rolling start. But in the meantime, they've got plenty of work to do getting temperature into those tyres. And then we've still got a couple more races after this one wraps up. We've got Formula Ford Race 3, followed by historic touring cars to wrap things up for what is the last day of school here at Phillip Island in 2024. But don't go anywhere, because you're in for a treat with this sports car race. Yeah,
Matt, we've got 5 classes of car in this one race today. So we've got the Class GT4, the Class Production Sports, the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 cars, and the Audi R8 Evo is all on its own, the MC Labour Audi R8 Evo. So that's all on its own. And we have handicaps for the driver changeover in the pit stop. So the pit window is going to open at 20 minutes. The strategy will be anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes open, so they can come in at any point they want. The driver changeover, we're only allowed to have 2 assists on the car, so there'll be someone controlling the lane traffic for that car, and there'll be someone doing the tyre pressures. So in terms of extracting the driver and helping the other driver get in on the changeover, that's between the 2 drivers, which can be a bit tricky when you've just hopped out of the car and you're full of adrenaline and you're boiling hot. Got to get your gloves off, got to get your unhooked from the car if you've got water, if you've got radio comms. You got to get that harness off, you've got to get out of the roll cage, get your gloves off, get your co-driver in. If they've got a seat insert because they're shorter than you or smaller than you, you got to get that sorted. And, you know, it's quite an ordeal. You're really hot and bothered, and you've just done 20 minutes of whatever the race shows you. So it's quite a thing to watch. So in the category of Class GT4, they've got a 100-second handicap. The Class Production Sports, which is most of the Porsches, is a 130-second handicap, which means they have to be in pit lane for a minimum of 130 seconds. So the Mark 1 cars have 130 seconds, the Mark 2 cars 150 seconds, and that MC Labour Audi 160 seconds.
They've got their work cut out for them as they come around the final corner now. The Ineos Grenadier safety car has pulled into the lane, and they'll be forming up now, getting ready for a rolling start. So as you mentioned, Michael Kokonos in that number 8 MC Labour Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo has control of the pace.
80k an hour coming down pit straight. Now they've got to, pit straight down the track, down through the grid. Now this is where you see them start to bunch up a little bit, get into their grid positions, and we're ready to go racing. Red lights are on, the tension is rising. Get ready for the roar as they unleash this field of sports cars on Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. 1 hour of fantastic sports car action coming up for the Victorian Tourist Trophy in 2024. And look at the jump that Stephen Lacey has around the outside in a turn 1. He's got the whole shot for now in a big way. He's already gapped the number 8 of Michael Kokonos by quite a few car lengths there. Not a whole lot of movement happening so far in this turn 1. You can't win an hour-long race on the first lap, but you can certainly lose it, Emma. Those Mark cars have so much straight line power. The horsepower in them, I think some of them are running 680. So that's a hell of a lot to get down a straight, and it will get the jump on the Audi. Not known for the horsepower, but when those tyres and brakes come on, my word, watch out for the Audis and the Porsches. They're even side by side now. That Audi has already clawed its way back up through turns 2 and 3 and then made the move into Honda. So it is back in front of the lead of this race as we see the pack of many Porsche 911s that have taken to the grid so far this weekend. It's a great variety of those Porsche 911s, and there's so many beautiful machines. They're all very well presented, and if you like the sound of a flat 6 as much as I do, you don't want to be anywhere else but trackside here at Phillip Island to listen to the glory past. I know, and I do have a massive soft spot. I already said it yesterday for Sven Burkhardt's GT3 Cup. That thing is supposed to be a GT3 Cup S, but it's actually the spec of an R, which is phenomenal. He's got a 4-litre in there roaring around, so that's phenomenal. And the wide angle on that butt, Fantastic. We've also got the Sin out there, the Bulgarian superstar. So Ben Schutz in the Sin. Can't wait to see what happens with those guys today.
Great to see Ben Schutz getting back out there again. Unfortunately, having issues in yesterday's 25-minute sprint race as we take a look at Stephen Lacey trying to have a look around the outside, but just doesn't have the run on him that time about, so he has to slot back in behind the number 8 of Kokonos, but he's finding himself having to defend. Lacey's looking all over the track here, sitting in the middle of the southern loop right now. Kokonos defending, hugging that inside line there, so he's really trying his best to hang on to this position here.
I wouldn't want to be either of them. I wouldn't want to have Stephen Lacey in my rear view, and I wouldn't want to have Michael in my rear view either.
Meanwhile, we've got a few drivers trying to make some moves here through Stoner Corner, turn 3. Thinking better of it was the number 111 of Donaldson there, slotting back in behind the 303 there. So that is the number 303 of Jake Donaldson, ahead of Grant Donaldson there in that marked Mustang you see flying past your shot there. Behind them is the 130, currently being piloted by Rodney Forbes, I believe, who's going to be swapping with Andy Hall at some point later in the race. Great to have Rodney Forbes racing, but there looks to be a slow car back there getting out of a few people's way. That might be Andrew Smith.
Andrew Smith, yeah, in the Midatoyo Porsche. He's sharing that ride this weekend with Daniel Quimby, the 16-year-old gun. Between here in America next year, between Michelin Sprint and, was it F3? My God, what a talent.
And he's only 16 years old, the New South Welshman. So he's been lightning quick so far this weekend. You were telling me earlier, Emma, just the amount of acreage that he was using, every last inch of rumble strip on the exit of 12 when it was bone dry on Friday. It was an incredible spectacle to watch as we see a couple of machines that I love here on the screen. This is the Andy Tudor, currently steered the number 79 Audi R8. Holding off that Sin R1 of Ben Schutz that we spoke about earlier. Great to see that one getting driven in anger after it had a pretty nasty crash at Bathurst.
Yeah, it did, and it was rebuilt, but some of the things that were rebuilt in it weren't quite up to scratch. Maybe that seems what it's like, but they've had a few problems down here on the track this weekend. Seem to have them fixed. They retired early yesterday with smoke coming out the car, so it's great to see Ben back on track. I love watching him race. And it's probably not a familiar position for him because at state level or Island Magic level, he's normally a full lap ahead of everyone else.
Certainly is. He's definitely used to being successful in this particular race as well as he tries to get up the inside of Dave Allen in that number 327.
Shut the door on him, didn't he?
Yeah, big time. Slammed that door on him. But Ben Schutz will be keen to get up to the front because he is the most recent winner of the trophy that we're racing for here today, that Victorian Tourist Trophy. We didn't compete for it in 22 or 3.
How cool is that for a shot, Matt? We've got a Porsche, a Sin, and we had the Audi in there in that shot as well. Andy Tudor in that earlier generation LMS is doing such a fantastic job. He only started racing out at the start of this year, and his times have been coming down and down and down. So he's actually getting a really good handle on that aero and that spec car. So love watching him go around, especially with the sim up his bum. He's in
a great mind frame as well. I was having a chat to Andy earlier on because I'm used to seeing him going around with the Porsche 944 guys, which is a much, much different car in many, many regards. And I was asking him, how
almost every regard.
In almost every regard, mainly apart from the fact that it's got 4 wheels and 2 doors.
A steering wheel.
And a steering wheel, indeed.
Yeah.
But for what is his first season really driving such an aero-heavy car, he's doing great.
Yeah, you have to trust the ABS, that's for sure. You've got to trust that the car's going to do. If you get in that flow state with it, you've got to trust that it is going to stop and get you around that corner and power you out. It's not like driving a Porsche. But a Cup car is a nice introduction to the Audis, that's for sure.
Got a couple of great looking Porsches going around here. The 130 currently being steered by Rodney Forbes, holding off the number 66, who I believe has Tim Wolfe behind the wheel of it right now. Another former 944 driver from WA who's been having a great run last year in the Porsche Michelin Sprint Challenge in the AM category, I believe he was running. Pro-Am, I should say. 6th position in the season standing. So really, really quick driver, knows how to wield a Porsche 911.
Do you know, it's just making me think we've got a few generations of Porsche out there, and it's really nice. It's making me think of Peter Fitzgerald, who we lost earlier this year. Peter Fitzgerald Racing. I got into Porsches very early on, being kicked out of Hamiltons and Duttons for taking photos of exhaust and brakes and all sorts of things. And Peter Fitzgerald was Mr. Porsche for me. So these guys knew him. I'd spoken to him a few times. Lovely, lovely man. Lost his battle with cancer earlier this year. So condolences to his partner, Marina. But his spirit lives on through these guys racing around in the 997s and the 991s.
He was certainly a great
and
asset.
the GT4.
And the GT4. He was certainly a great asset to have around in the wider motorsport community. And it's great to see like these vehicles, these Porsches, just being ringed all the way around tracks like this. And we're seeing a battle shaping up quite nicely here for second position at the moment. Michael Kokonos is doing a great job gapping the front of the field. You just saw him flash across your camera shot there. He'll be looking to just get in a bunch of bank of consistent laps until the time for the pit window to open, but he'll cross that bridge when he gets to it. In the meantime, Stephen Lacey sitting nice and solid in second position at the moment, currently holding off the 303 of Donaldson ahead of the 111 of
Donaldson.
Well,
he's got some defending to do, Lacey. Now he's not just attacking and hunting, he's got to defend from that Porsche and the other Mark car as well. Michael's good 4/10 up, which he'll be happy with, but I'm sure he'd like it to be a little bit more comfortable than that. But we'll see how it goes. His tyres should be coming on now and the brakes should be getting up to temp, so he might just start to pull away more and more and more and come in early and get Courtney in for the changeover.
It's been an interesting day in terms of temperature as well, like weather-wise, because it looks to be a bit of mist sort of hanging around the circuit, not necessarily that we can see in this close range from where we are across the track, but off in the distance it's pretty hard to see anything beyond the tree line right on the edge of the property, as you can see in the background of the shot there. So bit of moisture hanging around in the air, nowhere near as warm as it was yesterday. So pretty much every time any of these drivers here at Island Magic this weekend have been getting out on the track, it's basically a vastly different experience from the last time they took to the wheel.
Absolutely. And yesterday, oh, look at that action. Jeez. Wow. How about being in a Mark sandwich?
Mark sandwich, 111 there of Grant Donaldson was trying his best to have a look up the inside, but it's actually the 303 of Jake Donaldson who's gotten in front of both of them, and that's punted Stephen Lacey back down to fourth position, although I can't imagine he'll be falling off the back of this battle pack anytime soon. No,
and looking at those Mark cars, I have to remark, on yesterday's accident with Jeffrey Taunton. I had a look at the car. The rest of the car is fine. It's just the front that's off, and that's that crash structure that's been designed by Pace and the genius Seppi that he is at Pace. And I saw that, and it actually saved him from injury. I would think it was a 6.5 7G crash up there in turn 12, on the inside of turn 12. And it's amazing. He walked away, no concussion, no neck strain, no scratches, no bruises, no cracked ribs, nothing. So phenomenal bit of innovation there from Pace. For
those of you who saw race one yesterday, you would have seen that crash. It was quite dramatic. As
we've got someone off.
A lot of smoke there. That's a 911 of some description. I'm not sure which one that is. We're waiting for the smoke to clear so we can see that number on the back. That is the 303 of Jake Donaldson, who was running up in second position and now finds himself buried deep in the gravel at Lukey. I'm not sure if he's stuck on that wall, but that car does not look like it is going anywhere in a hurry. What a shame for the New South Welshman Jake Donaldson in that 991.1 GT3 Cup car.
That's a real rot roll, Matt. I want to see what happened there, because we didn't actually see footage of that. But hopefully he's all right in there. He looked okay.
We just caught a glimpse of it shooting across the top of our shot there. So let's take a look. We may have a replay coming here from Blend LineTV. So here he is, all on his own. He doesn't have anyone directly near him. And he just understeers by the look of it.
I wonder if there's a little bit of moisture there on the other side of the track limits that would have helped pull him off.
Well, he is back up and running, and he's dropped a little bit of gravel here and there. He did make not insignificant contact with that tyre belt as well. So we'll have to see how the right-hand side of that car looks. And from that angle, it already looks a little bit how you're going. That mirror was at a strange angle. There's a little bit of something flapping off the front bar.
I think it might be a bit of wrap there, Matt. Just a bit of the livery, hopefully.
Fingers crossed. It's still out there, and he's still looking to punch in some laps there. Meanwhile, have a look at the number 66 there. 65 of Ben Schutz behind the 66 of Tim Wolf. This is for fourth position. It's only taken him 10 minutes to get up there.
What an exciting little battle between Tim Wolf and Ben Schutz. Two great drivers. Do not underrate these guys. Both have won multiple championships. Really smart drivers, really clean, safe drivers too. And I would not like to have that Sin R1 in my rear view at all. I know what Ben's like at hunting, and Tim Wolf's in his sights.
Just look at that Sin R1 though. It's menacing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a brutal-looking machine, and just wait till you hear how it sounds. Roaring past.
Here we go. Is this his chance? He's taking on the inside. Oof.
It's been
Tim just shutting the door on him.
It's such an interesting corner because you can take those two lines a lot of the time through turn 1, and then that really has the follow-on effects through turn 2 where Tim Wolf has been able to get solidly in front and shut that door again on the number 65 of Ben Schutz. But it is a long race, so the Ben can afford to bide his time a little bit here. They're not drastically far away from the front runners, relatively speaking, and he is already going to have a look into turn 4 at Honda. There's a little bit of a slick patch on the inside there. You can see the number 65 getting a little squirrely on the anchors, but he did really well to pull it up, and that's a nice clean pass up into turn 4, but it certainly would have been a lot harder than Ben made it look, I'm sure.
Tim made that Porsche twice as wide as it actually is. He did everything he could. But nice clean racing, like I said, from the both of them, and he left it wide because he knew Ben was coming down and he wasn't going to back out.
You certainly don't want to risk getting into a tangle this early on in the race. So it's great to see really nice, respectful racing. A lot of these competitors have been, you know, around the traps. They've been racing alongside each other for seasons and seasons. They know each other well. They know what it's like, especially those who have been around the production sports car category here in Victoria, who've raced, you know, through event to event. They know what it's like to race alongside these competitors. They know them pretty well, and they know they've got great spatial awareness, where to leave space, how to race certain drivers, and how to really handle that. And that's the number 67 Mark Focus. I believe that's the Leithhead vehicle that is currently being driven by Andrew. That is the left-hand side window that is not in the door frame as it should be, so that might catch the attention of race officials. They may potentially, if they can't get that one secured or at least off in a safe place, whether that might attract a black and orange flag, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it doesn't look too secure. And he's coming up the rear of Stephen Baker in that beautiful Gallardo. I was having a chat to Stephen about the lack of livery on his car, and I actually congratulated him on it because I love the way it looks. It almost looks velvet or suede, just in that flat black on top of the carbon.
It does. It's a brilliant looking Lamborghini, that car.
It's actually horrible when you're on track, Matt, to have an all-black car in your rear vision because you don't see them until you actually see them on you, and then you can't see their headlights. They're that close.
And I can only imagine what it would have been like to sit in that car yesterday on track. It would have been an oven basically out there.
Yep, absolutely. But to your point about the production sports, Andy Hall does a great job at running these guys. I was in all the driver briefings this morning, and it's all about safety, keep it clean, let's not wreck our cars. You've got quite a few $1 million worth of cars out there. No one wants it to be wrecked.
As we just take a look, we've got a bit of a battle here on screen. This is the number 34 holding off the number 70. So that is the 34 currently being driven by Jonathan Crossing, the Queenslander. That's the Mark 1 Focus. He's got Andrew Smith bearing down on him in the number 70 997.2 GT3 Cup. Just wait. Andrew Smith is no slouch behind the wheel of that car, but just you wait until Daniel Quimby gets behind the wheel of it.
Yeah, we're going to have a couple of young guns out on track once the driver changeover happens between Courtney and Daniel. They'll be out there. They're like little unleashed greyhounds, so I can't wait to watch those guys.
It's going to be fantastic here.
But yeah, to my point, Andy's doing a great job as president of Production Sports Cars. They've got a great year lined up next year. All the guys here are really, really lovely. They're really, really helpful with each other. It is a bit family-like. Everyone's kids are down here, wives. It's really, really nice little community, that category. So I'm rapt to be a part of it. And they've got no problem having a chat with you about their cars, what their strategy is, what they hope for the weekend. So yeah, and there's some points on the line today. The first, because we missed race 2 yesterday, first place gets 84 points today. Second place gets 76, and then -4 for every place down. So Andy should win, but if, we got Dave Allen off. I wonder what happened there. At least he's safely tucked out of the way for now. Can he get it going?
Dave Allen car. I think it might be Mark Cirillo who's currently driving that one,
yes,
because I believe he started the race. So we did get caught out because we don't have Cirillo's name on the side of the door there, but he has rejoined safely, which is good to see. So let's see how that one happened. He was all on his own and just put the boot in a little bit too early, I think, on the exit of Honda.
Yeah, and the grass is still super wet. And like you said, we've got this mist over it, so it could feel a little bit oily.
It certainly could. Have a look at Ben Schutz now. Stephen Lacey is about to get swallowed up around the outside here as they're going to turn 1. Although he might be getting blocked off here. They're going to be side by side here. Stephen Lacey does quite well to hold on to that one, but there's not much in it at this stage.
Get the feeling Benny backed off there with a lack of grip. Just get the feeling there looking at that. But, oh, geez, that was close.
It's so good to see these cars just going out there and racing. And, like, we mentioned earlier, imagine having a rear view mirror full of the front of that Sin R1. It is a beast of a car to look at. Let's see if he can have another run down at a Honda. He's giving it another go. He's had plenty of practice here, and he gets the move done very, very nicely. The compulsory pit stop window is now open, and they've just blasted the siren on the main straight to let us know. So we can hopefully expect some drivers to start filing into the pits pretty soon. Now, we were talking a little bit in the lead up of this race about the different classes and how they've got different sort of pit stop, I guess, handicap times. Now, that's not necessarily total time stopped in the box. That timer starts when they cross the speed limit entry line into pit lane. Is that right, Emma?
That's correct. And some of that time, so it's I think it's 40 seconds, is it, from the start to the finish of the pit, or it could be 30-something seconds. So that's included in your handicap time. So then if you minus that off, say, for Michael and Courtney, the 160 seconds that they've got to take, they've got to extract and get in and ready to go in that, I don't know, what is it, 80 seconds left.
Speaking of Michael and Courtney, they are the first car into the lane. Michael Kokonos has darted straight in. He's getting out of that car. It is 160 seconds on the clock for them, and it's also the number 34 of Jonathan Crossing coming into the lane behind him. Quite a few cars, 3, 4 now, filing into the lane. So of these cars, Michael Kokonos has the longest amount of time that he needs to spend. It's 160 seconds that car needs to be in the lane for, and that is a rocket of a machine. It's got the fastest lap already so far with a 133.18. He's braining them out there, and just you wait until Courtney Prince is behind the wheel of that machine.
Yeah, it's her first time in a GT3 car. Oh my goodness, we've got a little bit of passing action here with Ben Schutz on the GT4 of D'Alessandro. Who's in the car at the moment, Matt?
That is Joseph Di Benedetto, who started that car there. So D'Alessandro will be coming in once that car makes its pit stop, and they may be getting around some what might be lap traffic at this stage for that GT4.
Out of all the cars that we have on track, which is 18, half of them, exactly 9 cars, are going to do a driver changeover. So the Leithheads are doing a changeover. Steve Sluger and Vin Stenter are doing a changeover. Andy Hall and Rodney Forbes is going to jump out the car now for Andy Hall to get in. Michael Kokonos is getting out of the car for Courtney Prince to jump in. Ash Goose Rogers is jumping out for David Stilwell to jump in. You said it was Joe Di Benedetto jumping out for Anthony D'Alessandro to jump in. Cirillo is jumping out for Dave Allen to jump in. Andrew Smith is jumping out to let the gun of Daniel Quimby in. And Tim Wolf is going to jump out to let Matt Slavin in. And Matt Slavin is no slouch, is he, Matt?
He certainly is not. He was also one of those campaigners in the last season, 2023, of Michelin Sprint Challenge. Second in the standings in the Pro-Am category that year. So he knows how to drive a Porsche 911, much like Tim Wolf. It's a great pairing in that car. And if you didn't get all those names, tough luck. There's a test on it and you're going to fail, but we'll keep you abreast of it as we run through the pit strategy. It is also important to note that not just the cars that are sharing drivers have to pit. Every car has to make a stop, even if there's no driver swap taking place. But the benefit for those cars who are just riding solo is they just get a little bit of time to just sit and have a little bit of a breather.
Well, yes, there's benefit in that too, but your tyres are cooling down and your brakes are cooling down the longer you're in the lane. And it looks like that marked car had the window. Did it have the window replaced? Not sure.
I'm not sure. They would have probably tried their best to either secure it or get it out of there. And this is what we mean. That car is 25 seconds down the road already as the number 8, now being driven by Courtney Prince, takes to the track. And that is where the handicap time comes into effect. It's nowhere near as detailed, nowhere near as strictly regulated, or it is regulated, of course, but it's nowhere near as rigorously, developed and tested as something like, your balance of performance that you might see in GT3 and World Challenge, but it doesn't need to be. That's not what we're here for.
No.
And it's just a nice and simple rule set, a way to get multiple different types of GT cars out here on the track so that we can see great battles like the Sin taking on Porsches and marked cars. GT4's getting in the mix as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt, I will note that while the drivers are exiting, when they're exiting pit lane and they're crossing that blend line, there's a strict instruction for the other drivers on track to give a more than a car width's length from the blend line. So do not come over. Allow the re-entering driver to have enough space, so we don't need a collision here at all.
That's exactly right. It is a slightly tricky pit lane here to navigate when you're coming out, because it sort of just jumps out into what tends to become the racing line as Ben Schutz and the number 66 have resumed their battle pretty much straight away. That is Matt Slavin now behind the wheel of that number 66 car, and it is seeing the back of the Sin R1 once again. We haven't seen Ben Schutz come into the lane just yet in that number 65 car, but he will need to make his compulsory pit stop, and he has until, I believe it's the 35 minutes elapsed mark of the race. So
to enter the pit lane.
To enter the lane. So with the clock in the position it is, drivers only have roughly 9 minutes or so to get themselves into the lane to make their stop. It's a pretty short window.
It is short, but if you were just doing a solo drive, you'd probably wait for all the driver changeovers to come in so there's less traffic in pit lane to come and serve your drive-through. So I think that's why he's probably still out. I think Sven was going to do the same thing, and there he is. He's just come into the lane to serve his pit stop, and he's not doing a driver changeover, so we'll just see him sit there for a little bit.
It's certainly not the widest pit lane in Australian motorsport, very well suited for motorcycle racing, but for cars it can definitely become a little bit congested, as you said, which is why there's such a benefit to get a clean run without any whole lot of traffic that you have to deal with on exit.
Especially with these cars, the GT3 cars, they're very wide-bodied, lots of aero on them, lots of big bums, lots of big tyres. So when they get released, it can often be unsafe if it's not controlled properly. And there was a lot of talk about that in the driver briefing today with safe releases and just making sure that someone is clearing the lane.
Lots of aero elements, canards, splitters, all of that as well. And it's not cheap. It's a lot of carbon fibre, as we see Courtney Prince getting around that Porsche Cayman through MG. So Courtney Prince is having a great time in this number 8 machine. Had a really, really good run in yesterday's race. Absolutely brained a lot of them in that number 8 car. We saw just how fast it was, and that's why it has its own special handicap, 160 seconds. That's 20 seconds, or 10 seconds, I should say, more than the next fastest car that it has to spend in pit lane. It's quite literally in a class of its own.
It just means she has to go hunting, that's all. But yeah, she's done a brilliant job this weekend. Couldn't be more proud of her. Pulling a 128 in the race, 128 in her practice. And there were some teething issues in the car. I don't think she could see her front tyre. Needed to put a chock in the car. So there's a seat insert. When you have a change in driver size getting in the same seat, they often have race seat inserts. The insert is crucial because if they get into an accident with a temporary solution under their bum or their back, it can really, really... If they have a collision, you can have some nasty spinal injuries from that kind of being unsupported. And Courtney has just, speaking of her, pulled a 129 in the race on her second lap.
First flying lap, fastest of the race. We love to see it. Just looked out to see Ben Schutz is now getting ready to depart the lane. It's such a long stop. You can see all these cars going a lap down straight away just because of how quick the lap is here. You're going to lose a lap when you come into the pits. So we've got two effective races happening here right now. Those who have pitted versus those who have not. Of those who have not, this car is currently the leader. It is Grant Donaldson, the Queenslander, in this Mark II Mustang. This is one of the cars that has to take a 150-second stop, I believe, as it's a Mark II.
Yep.
So that will be in the lane for quite some time. So he'll be trying to focus on getting as much of a gap as he possibly can. He's got 12.8 seconds on Steve Lacey last time over the stripe. Now, let's take a look. Oh, bit of conjecture there. There's the number 67. That's the Leafhead car. So the window's definitely in place. I can see that much. It was very nice of him to get close to the camera so we could confirm that, if that was the car that we were looking at earlier. But that's not what he wanted in terms of lap time through that really long escape road at Honda Corner.
It looks like he was looking for a drive-through window. It was cruisy.
It's always important to grab a snack on a long drive such as this, isn't it?
So to your point, Matt, there's 5 classes within this race. So they will be the racers themselves. And then the drivers will have someone at their skill level or their performance level that they're racing with. So, you know, only one person can come first, but there are racers within the race. And there's always someone, as pally as you can be and as friendly as it is, there's always someone you want to beat or that you don't want to place behind. And there's always the race off the bottom as well. You don't want to be last either. Here's
a great scrap. Ahead of this number 67 car, we've got the cars in that same class, the GT4 Cayman and also the Ford Mustang FRC 500 CS, currently being steered by Goose Rogers, I believe, is behind the wheel of that one, unless it's already been through the
David
pits.
Stillwell.
It is David Stillwell. So Goose Rogers has stepped out, David Stillwell has jumped in, and now they're actually both being rounded up by that number 67 machine, the Leafhead car, which is that Mark 1 Ford Focus. It's a brutal looking car, that Mark car. You look at a car like that, you don't know like how it can go that fast, but that just is what we were saying about the engineering of these Mark cars. And it's a bit of a move there, so he's got the move done on that. David Stilwell, he gives that car plenty of room because it's not a battle that he's having.
No, that was nice and clean. A lot of these guys are not fighting for points today, so there is no point having the elbows out and having argy-bargy. Keep it clean, keep away, and when in doubt, back out.
So as the rest of the field is slowly coming in to complete their stops, they only have another 4 or 5 minutes or so to do so if they haven't already entered. We're starting to see this battle now. This is for the effective race lead. These two are neck and neck. Ben Schutz was leading last time around. They are a lap down on the scoreboard, but these guys are in the effective lead. Courtney Prince has gone straight back past the number 65 of Ben Schutz, but it looks pretty close on pace between these two.
To be honest, Matt, I'm not sure she'll be worried. I'm not sure she'll be worried at all. Courtney is having an amazing time out there. She's having so much fun in her GT3, and I think that's what she's hunting for in 2025. So from what I can see, she's such an amazing steerer. Her positioning and her lines are phenomenal, and she is just speedy, speedy, speedy. All 5'4" of her. Tiny little frame getting into that car and just showing everyone how it's done.
She's been a regular campaigner of recent in the Carrera Cup as well, so she knows her way around a car quite similar to this Audi, but it's obviously a very different beast to that Porsche 911 Carrera Cup car.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, they are different. I mean, it's not chalk and cheese exactly. There's a fair bit of aero in those Cup cars, but getting in this with a clutch on your steering wheel, not at your feet, there's a lot to get around. And when you have a look at the steering wheels in those Audis, they are so complex. It's almost like a level down from F1. So there's buttons everywhere. The restart, if you come off, is complex. It's a lot to get your head around. So, to her credit, she's done it overnight because they only got her in the car like Thursday, Wednesday. So yeah, she's done a great job of acclimatising herself. I'm getting tongue-tied, Matt.
She certainly is. This is our leader on paper for the race here, Grant Donaldson, finally coming in to make his compulsory stop. So that'll promote Rodney Forbes up to the effective, or not the effective, to the actual lead of the race once he cycles around. So he'll be a little bit further back. He's at a gap of about 25 seconds further down the road. So he's currently leading on track with Sunil Vora in the number 447. Motorsport Australia CEO, currently sitting in third position as a result of still being out there, having not taken that stop. As we see Courtney Prince making her way up the inside of that number 90 car of Sven Boykarts, which is now lap traffic, and around the outside of that 34 Mark Ford Focus as well. So yeah, Courtney Prince is just... It's almost like she just has total freedom to just get out there, put the foot down, and just get some nice consistent laps in. Not a huge amount of pressure on her as a result, and that means she can have a lot of fun behind the wheel of that car.
Overtaking between 11 and 12, there's a lot of drivers still out there that are very experienced that still wouldn't do that, and she made it look like a piece of cake.
She certainly did, and like you said, it's not very easy at all. As she comes through now the southern loop, we've been seeing, it's been interesting watching a lot of the categories throughout this weekend adapt to the changing conditions throughout, with certain dry lines appearing. There hasn't been much sunshine, and coupled with the amount of rain that we had overnight, it sort of created a few interesting lines here as Courtney Prince makes her way past that Lamborghini Gallardo number 63 of Stephen Baker. So that gorgeously presented Lamborghini that we were talking about earlier. But the track is, for all intents and purposes, bone dry now. Not really any moisture on it, but still a lot of moisture in the air. So interesting conditions as we see Stephen Lacey rolling out of the pit lane as well. So just about everyone has made their compulsory stop. There's a couple more cars I can see. It looks like that was the number 90 of Sven Boykarts actually being rolled into the garage, which is such a shame to see. It may have been that one. I may have misspoken, but it was certainly a black Porsche 911 with red side seals going up the side of it. So we'll keep an eye out on the timing. It's certainly marked as being in the pit lane, so that looks to be race done for Sven Boykarts.
Yeah, and for anyone wondering, on the Audi, there's a lot of sponsorship, and that's because it's come out of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Series. So to be in those series, you need a lot of sponsorship. But in this category this weekend, most of the guys are self-funded. They may have their own companies as sponsors. But that Audi's laden with sponsorship because it takes a hell of a lot to run it. The guys at MPC down here with Lee Burley and the hired gun himself, Racy Jason Dunstan, doing a great job.
So that's the car that was leading the race earlier, Grant Donaldson, and because of the amount of the field has sort of thinned out between the start of the pit window and now, still rejoins in 5th position. So a great run so far from Grant Donaldson, who's just got the number 303 tucked right in behind at the moment. That is the other Donaldson car of... So Grant is in the 111 and it's Jake Donaldson in the 303. I don't believe there's any relation there, but they're going side by side, resuming their battle they had earlier in the race.
So now the pit window is about to close, a couple of seconds to go. So now the job is for all those, there we go, we've just heard that the pit window is closed. So now it's hunting. Now everyone's hunting to get back up into position. So you'll have battles going on, and Courtney and Lacey, they have to actually move through all the and unlap themselves and get through the lap traffic. So there's a lot of dodging and weaving going on. Their lap times are going to come down a wee bit. Although having said that, Courtney's just set a 128.09. She's just getting faster and faster regardless of all the traffic she's got to get through.
She's just having fun out there. So this battle for 5th is still raging on quite well. Grant Donaldson's pulled a little bit of a gap over Jake Donaldson, but Jake is not letting that Mark Mustang go in front of him right now. Really good matchup between two quite different cars here. That Mark Mustang with that thunderous V8 at the front versus that flat 6 in the back sitting right over the rear axle. Two very different dynamically handling cars. And in terms of pace, it's great to see that they're just so evenly matched right now.
Well, there might be, 80 horsepower between them, so the Mark cars can pull away a little bit on the straight, but those Porsches can wait to almost the last second to brake. They've got amazing front and rear braking. Like, the stability in them under brakes is phenomenal. So, not to say the Mark cars aren't great about going around corners, but Porsches are famous for it, so, and I'm biased. But, yeah, it is a great matchup for these guys. When we're getting the flashing lights for lap traffic behind David Stillwell there.
Is starting to come into play here, so that might fall into the hands of Jake Donaldson, who now finds himself all over the back of Grant Donaldson right up front. So he's used the number 60 of David Stillwell as a bit of a pick there to try and get as close as he possibly can. Is he going to try and make a move into the run into Honda? I doubt it with how defensive that Grant is positioning that number 111 car.
Yeah, well, he's trying desperately to show him, I'm here, I'm going to try and pass you whenever I can. He's doing a great job of holding back in the 111 car.
So with Sunil Vora rolling out of the pit lane, I believe that is the last of the pit stops done and dusted. So as you see them on the totem, that is how they run. It is still Courtney Prince leading this race over Ben Schutz by a margin of nearly 30 seconds. That is a 127.5628 that Courtney Prince has done last time around. Up on screen right now, the fastest lap of the race so far. She's just getting faster and faster every single lap.
These guys still battling it out. I can't wait to see what these guys do. But just looking at the screen here, Matt, we seem to have Sven Burkhardt's out. He's had 4 minutes in the pit lane. That can't be good.
Yeah, I believe that is the car that I saw getting pushed into the garage earlier. That is day done for the number 90. So it's such a shame to see. So we're down to 17 cars running at this stage, which is a shame because it is such a beautifully presented 911 that we saw there.
It is. And the fact that he's spec'd it up to be a GT3R is even cooler. That 4-litre, my goodness, it's just phenomenal. But all of these cars are phenomenal. I love seeing, we've got a Mustang, a Porsche and a Lamborghini racing around with GT3 wings. How cool is that?
It's brilliant. And even though, unfortunately, we do see Sven Burkhardt's pulling in, we've got no shortage of awesome racing machines out there on track, giving it their all right now. So this battle is still raging really well, although Grant Donaldson's trying to get that gap back once again that he had formed initially before they came up upon Dave Stillwell this time last lap. So this is a battle that we're going to keep a bit of an eye on. It's a really interesting one here. As we see a little bit further back, this is another scrap between a couple of Porsche 911s. There's a bit closer here. I'm trying to see
Dave Allen. That is Dave
Steve
Allen. Sluger.
And Steve Sluger right behind him in the number 68 machine. So as they come over the Lukey Heights hill there to crest down into MG, we'll take a look at that one back in a second. Now, Courtney Prince crosses the stripe. Is she going to go faster again? Not that time. She's actually done a 131.4. So taking her foot off the throttle a little bit there as we see this battle forming behind them. So that is Matt Slavin in the number 66. Right behind him is that number 70. Now, Daniel Quimby. We've been talking this kid up all day, all weekend, and he just made a great move on Matt Slavin there, flown past him. This 16-year-old out of New South Wales, you do not want to take your eyes off him. He is dynamite.
How is a 997 Cup making a 991 Cup look like it's standing still? That's cool. I like seeing this racing. I have to say, Matt, a big thank you to Sven Burkhardt's because his Callis Kenny Intellects Lawyers that Sven is a partner at is the major sponsor for this category, and he has been all year. So a big thank you to Sven for sponsoring these guys. It's a great group of cars and guys.
Without Callis Kenny, Intellects Lawyers, and all the other sponsors who come on board for the drivers, the categories, to make this racing possible. We just wouldn't be able to go racing, so we can't thank the support enough, and we really do appreciate it.
And while we're at it, Tim Manga from Beat the Reset, Bisha from Stormrake, Craig Finn from the Melbourne Motor Show 2025. They've all sponsored the Audi. And we've got Andy Hall. I think he works for, where is it? I'm going to get this wrong. It slips me at the moment. But Andy Hall has always worked with Panther Racing Fuel, and his Ozco, his company that he works for, also sponsors the car.
This battle's still going on here between the number 327 of Dave Allen and the 68 of Matt Slavin. And there's another battle crossing the stripe right now. That one is still raging. That's Tim Wolfe, Daniel Quimby, Matt Slavin and Daniel Quimby running in that reverse order. And they've just gone past that black. No, that's the Porsche Cayman there.
Joe De Benedetto is in that car.
It was Joe De Benedetto who started it. It's Anthony D'Alessandro.
Anthony.
He's running it now.
Anthony's got a little one on the way in a couple of days.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he's welcoming a new bub soon, a little girl.
Another member to add to this vastly growing sports cars family. We spoke about all the family getting involved in, speaking of Andy Hall as well. It really is a family affair, this sort of racing, both in terms of your personal family and just everyone who races sort of banding together as competitors to help one another out, but also in a literal sense of Andy Hall getting his two sons cleaning his wheels of his car for him.
No, it was only Daniel yet. Daniel's a little karting champ, and he's got a ride next year with the team. And he was in the pits before, polishing all the rims of the 991s and the 997s. So you got to start him young, but good job, well done.
That's how you get the kids involved in motorsport. You get them in the garages soon. You get them experiencing those sights, the sounds, smells even of motorsport.
Or speaking of that, Andy's wife Lisa is phenomenal as well. Every now and then she does a barbecue for the guys, and my God, top-notch food. Well done, Lisa.
Maybe that's not actually mist we're seeing around the track. Maybe that's just her cooking up an absolute storm around here. We can't smell in the commentary box, but if someone on the pit wall can tell us that it smells like sausage sizzle, let us know. So let's take some stock of where this race is at the moment. It is Courtney Prince absolutely braining them out the front. Last time around was a 1:29.7844. That is just 2.2 seconds slower than the fastest lap she's managed so far.
She is driving the wheels off that thing. She pulled a 1:27.5628 in lap 20. What? Phenomenal work in the MC Labour Audi.
Ridiculous stuff. It's great to see her. 45 seconds down the road is this car currently sitting in second position. That is Ben Schutz, the most recent holder of the Victorian Tourist Trophy. And then 3.2 seconds behind him is that 111 car. So this is beginning to be a really spicy battle here for second position with the 111. And I believe that's the 130. No, so that's not the 130 there. That's the 303. That's not involved in this battle at all. That car's a lap down, basically, in terms of this racing here. The next car out on track behind the 111 that you see here is the 130, now being steered by Andy Hall, having taken over from Rodney Forbes. About 30 seconds down the track, but this is an awesome scrap here for second position as Ben Schutz is finding that rear view mirror just all of a sudden being filled by Mark Mustang.
Yeah, that Donaldson saying, yeah, let me through. Ben's done the nice clean thing and has done. Looked like Ben was like, I don't know if I can outbrake this guy. But yeah, this is a great battle happening. It's worth noting, Matt, the guys have been driving for 43 minutes, the guys that haven't done a driver change. That's a long time in a car, although these drivers, especially the GT3 drivers, are really conditioned at long races. They are generally a 1 hour race and they do a couple of enduros during the year. But for the guys at state level or at the grassroots level, it's normally 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. So your head can start to go off after a while. The fatigue gets to you, the concentration, especially if you've got someone covering your rear mirrors and you're trying to attack as well. That's a lot of concentration. The heat builds up in the car, in your suit, in your helmet, your balaclava. It's a lot to contend with. So these guys are doing an amazing job right now, and the cars are built for this. They don't get as exhausted maybe as some of the drivers do, but you never know when it's a car's turn to have some brakes fade or to have something go wrong, and this is just a true testament to GT3 racing. It
was an interesting conversation I was having with Andy Tudor about that same topic, but we'll get to that in a moment because look at Ben Schutz all over the track here. He's got a lot of straight line pace and he's having a look up the inside of turn one. Thinks better of it that time, and Grant Donaldson shuts the door, but that is promising pace from Ben Schutz there. Not too far off the back of this 111 car now, so it's great to see that sin being thrashed around here, and it's really good to see just how close this battling still is with 15 minutes to go. Yeah, well, he might have let him through, but Ben Schutz is definitely saying, I haven't given up on hunting you. just getting back in Grant Donaldson's mind a little bit. Didn't want to let him have that pass too easily. Didn't want to let him have it without a fight and just say, yep, I'm still here. You can flash those headlights in my mirror all you want, but I'm still going to be right behind you at the end of this one. So
it's a tactic. It's head games. It's mind games at this point. The flashing lights, the covering the mirrors. It's all about getting in your head and applying that pressure, hoping that you'll make a mistake or that you'll get nervous enough that you'll give them some room and they can get past. And it looks like the Mark might have a little bit of horsepower on him, but Ben is phenomenal in this sim. Let me tell you, he won the championship in it. He knows his car inside and out. Owned by Richard Bendell, who's on track this weekend. I think he turns 83 this week. Been in motor racing for 67 years,
Goodness
Matt.
me.
How is that?
Unbelievable. It's so good seeing those characters who've been floating around, motorsport paddocks for decades and decades and decades. It's great to have people like that around, still supporting motorsport as well. And it's good that it's interesting to mention. You talk about the mind games and getting in the person's head, because even when you don't have someone right filling up in mirrors, concentration at this point of the race is still a really important thing to be able to nail down. And I was having a chat to Andy Tudor, who's currently steering the number 79 Audi R8 LMS, the older spec Audi R8, at a solo run. Now, it's not a particularly hot day by any standards. It does get pretty warm inside race cars, but it's certainly nowhere near as hot as it was yesterday. But even on relatively cold days, Andy says he will still run a cool suit just to regulate his body temperature and just to make it that little bit easier for him to concentrate. Every single little bit that you can do to just keep mind and body in sync when you're in that car. It's so demanding for that 1 hour, and you've got to give yourself every possible shot at being on the money for that whole hour.
And this is not a track day where you're looking at how fast can I go, and you've got clean air. You will have turbulence, which is like basically a hot wash from the car in front or beside you, and that can affect how the engine performs as well. And then everyone's changing positions the whole time. You're constantly going either through lap traffic or being lapped yourself, and you've got to give room and get out of the way for faster cars, but you've also got to keep your line, and there'll be a race for you as well. So you've got to be respectful of the leaders, but you also have to run your race. That's a lot of concentration, as well as what's going on inside the car, whether you're shifting, whether you're whatever you're doing in there. And sometimes comms can fail, our water bottles can fail, all sorts of things can happen in the car that the driver has to deal with as well. So it is a mental game, this.
It certainly is. And there's a couple of side-by-side races that have just gone across the stripe here. Now, this is Dave Allen just trying to hold off 2 outside moves in a row around turn 1. That was Sluger going around the outside of the number 327. And while that was happening, Ben Schutz made it around the outside of Grant Donaldson as well. And now this Schutz and Donaldson battle is going to come up on the back of this battle of Porsches in front of them. So what can Ben Schutz do with blue flags waving for those 911s in front to use them as a pick? Is this going to be to Grant Donaldson's detriment, or can he navigate the lap traffic successfully to stay on the back of that Sin R1?
The door slamming is real, Matt. Everyone's shutting doors left and right. I'm loving it.
It's brilliant stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, love this toe-to-toe racing. It's amazing. And they're keeping it clean, by the way. No one rubbing doors, no one taking off door handles. They're keeping it super clean, but so close.
I think Dave Allen will be pretty flat that he's fallen off the back there as Grant Donaldson squeezes himself in between these cars. That number 68 machine of Steven Sluger will be having blue flags thrown to it left, right and centre, so he'll duck out of the way here, let Grant Donaldson slip up the inside at MG, and now Grant Donaldson has to put the foot down once again to catch up to Ben Schutz, because all of a sudden we've got a sprint race on our hands. Just over 10 minutes to go here, 11 minutes and some GST, so they've got to get them up. If they want to get a move done, they've got to get it done right now. It was a slow burn to start with, but not anymore.
Matt, are you ready for this?
I was born ready.
Courtney Prince, this is lap 27 of hers now. She has just set the lap record here in this race of 127.4721. That is nuts.
Unbelievable.
For reference, Brendan Leach here in the opening of the GT3, I think was in the low 27s or the high 26s, and he's an ex or maybe current Lamborghini factory test driver.
That is a fantastic lap from Courtney Prince.
First time in a GT3.
Like a duck to water, honestly.
Absolutely. I don't disagree now that she probably is the fastest woman in Australia.
There's a self-claim that Courtney Prince made to us, but it's a pretty valid one that we're starting to see here as she is putting on an absolute clinic. Meanwhile, this is that battle for 6th position that's still raging on. These two cars have not left each other alone just about all afternoon since the pit window. So Daniel Quimby hasn't been able to shake off Matt Slavin behind him. They're two very, very good drivers. This is experience versus just raw young talent here right now on show. This
is a mini Michelin Sprint challenge in itself. These two, both from Michelin Sprint, both very experienced. 16 years old in that Mitutoyo 997.2 Gen Cup car. Phenomenal. This is a great, clean, technical race between these two.
It is certainly excellent. There is a little bit of management involved in these races as well because they don't really get the chance to change tyres or anything like that in the pit stop. No, certainly no refueling. So even though there is a pit stop, it is effectively a sprint, for what these cars are used to. So there is management involved in not, breaking out the tyres as the number 67 just goes for an excursion there. Another off-track run there for the Leafhead machine who takes to the escape road. So whether he caught a little bit of the grass on the brakes into Honda corner there, but that's certainly not the ideal racing line there.
Yeah, another drive-through attempt. Maybe there was a coffee there earlier, not sure. Oh, well, at least he's safe and he got out of everyone's way and he's rejoining safely.
He certainly is, and it hasn't affected this battle that we're seeing either here for P6. Although Quimby is starting to put a few more car lengths between that number 70 machine of his and the 66 of Matt Slavin behind him as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this one shakes out between two different generations of Porsche 911 here.
Yeah, we're missing Jeff Taunton today in this race, Matt, because he obviously crashed out yesterday in his marked car. Having a chat to Jeff earlier, he's such a rat for Blend LineTV. He loves it and he has it on in the office, gets people to watch his races back and back and back. So he was more than happy to talk. I thought he might be a bit shy given that he had a spectacular off yesterday. But all he really wanted to talk to me about was how much he loved Blendline and the coverage, but also how great that crash structure is on the marked car that's been designed by Pace.
It's brilliant engineering. I totally agree, because those who were watching the race yesterday would have seen that when the car got loose for what we couldn't figure out at first, but it seemed to be because like a mismatch between trying to hit the rev limiter and shift at the same time, just unsettled the car, spun it to the inside, hit that wall in what looked to be a pretty spectacular crash, and as we saw, the front fell off the car, basically, and that's not very typical. I'd like to make that point. As we see, the Dave Stillwell machine, the number 60, has gone off the track and is not looking to be in a good way. No damage to the car, but whether he's had an excursion or whether there's an issue with that machine, it's very, very hard to tell. Not ideal for the number 60 machine, though,
either way. It does look a bit slow to get going. Maybe there is something wrong there, not sure.
So we'll have to see if he happens to coast past the pits. He's not exactly putting the foot in. Indicators are on. He will be coming in. You know who else is coming in? Courtney Prince is in the lane. We're just taking a look. That one has gone, it's lit up on our timing screen as being in the lane. Courtney Prince is pitting. We're trying to have a look from our vantage point up in the comm box to see what's happening. Is that a tyre change I'm seeing? It is. Courtney Prince is coming in for fresh rubber. That is unbelievable. So whether she just cooked these tyres, you can see in the lane, they're doing a rapid tyre change. She's got quite a bit of time up her sleeve, but it's not going to be a whole lot of time once she's able to get out on track. Now, they are able to make pit stops outside of the compulsory pit window, of course. The compulsory, that time, that 160 seconds in Courtney Prince's instance, had to be served during the window, but there's nothing stopping these cars from coming in to make extra stops if they need to. So Courtney Prince has done exactly that. Got fresh set of boots on that number 8 Audi R8 LMS Evo 2, but still has a massive gap to Ben Schutz here, the second place car. So here he comes around turn 12. He's got no danger of catching, and it's almost like in Formula One when a car comes in to put on a fresh set of boots to get the fastest lap point.
Absolutely. Courtney Prince on a fresh set. Oh, I want to see this. But I had to have a moment of silence there, sorry, Matt, because I love hearing that V10 take off out of the pit. It's fantastic of the MC Labour Audi.
Glorious sounding machine, isn't it? And Ben Schutz still has Grant Donaldson to deal with as well here. So this battle is far from over. That 111 car is not getting off the back of the Sin R1. He's all over him like a cheap suit at the moment. You cannot separate the two. So this has been another one of those great scraps that's just kept going all the way from when the pit stops were made earlier. They're coming up here. That's the number 447, being driven by Sunil Vora, the Motorsport Australia CEO, ahead of them. And we have just confirmed that David Stilwell is in the pits. That is day done for the number 60 machine. Another retirement, unfortunately, with only 6 minutes to go in the race. So almost got all the way. So we're not sure what the issue was with that car, but unfortunate to see the number 60 Mustang FR500.
He did well to limp that back though, Matt, so that's fantastic. This is a matchup that I'm not sure I thought I would see this weekend between Ben Schutz and the Mark Cars. We knew the Mark Cars would come out with all that horsepower and phenomenal just performance, full stop. And Ben, phenomenal driver, and that Sin is just ridiculous. So in between like the Sin and the Mark Cars, what a great battle. And Courtney's just extended that lead again, almost to where she was, 19 seconds ahead of Ben Schutz in the Sin R.
She's just crossed the stripe for the first time on a flying lap, so we'll check back in probably roughly 1 minute and 27 time to see how that one shakes out. In the meantime, Ben Schutz is doing a great job to hold off Grant Donaldson. They're going to take some pretty different lines here. I think Ben Schutz has the distance on him, so Grant Donaldson can't really make a move here through turn 1. But he's got a bit of time here so far. A couple of different lines here. Donaldson's going to have a little bit more pace coming into the southern loop because Ben Schutz is just hugging that inside line, really defending now. They're pretty similar on pace. Ben knows it, and he doesn't want to get his line wrong at any one point or just open a door where he doesn't need to. Yeah,
I've noticed once or twice just on cornering, Ben seems to be a bit tentative with, I'm not sure if there's something where we may not be confident with the brakes.
That's the number 111 that's just run wide behind him. I think he's gone just slightly hot there.
We had a moment.
Almost had to take to the paint there. Didn't go all the way around. Didn't go straight to the drive-through window, but has lost quite a bit of time, as you can see there. So I think he just missed his braking marker by a couple of meters there. He's still in this hunt, but he's lost a bit of time there.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're trying to overtake and you're hunting down, that can be your main focus, and sometimes it can take your focus, especially when you're fatigued, off actually doing your proper lines and your proper braking as well.
It certainly does. So as the gap between those cars extends a little bit, I've now got my eyes on the timing screen to see Courtney Prince rounding the final corner for her lap. Let's see what this sort of lap time does. First thing out of the pits on a fresh set of boots. 131.7. So a little bit of traffic should have had to contend with there for sure. Looks to be some fresh air in front of her for now, but knowing how quick that car is, she can probably round up any car on this track.
Do you know what, Matt? With 3 minutes 40 left in this race and maybe another lap on top of that, I don't doubt that I think she's going to hunt the 26s for sure. I
think so, absolutely. To be rude not to, I think you've got a car with that kind of pace behind it and that new rubber on there as well. So really interested to see how that one goes. In the meantime, Grant Donaldson, that gap at the stripe was 3.7 seconds between Schutz and Donaldson. So he does look a bit slow, doesn't he? Whether that car's having an issue or what's going on with that one. Let's have a listen. It does sound okay from what I can tell. It's hard to get a good look, but speaking of cars that sound okay, my goodness, this thing is a beautiful sounding machine.
I got to tell you, the biggest lament I have is that Formula One got rid of V10s, Matt. It was the worst. It was like a black day for me. It was a very dark day. Those V10s sound phenomenal at full rev and at full anger, and they are angry engines.
They are very, very angry engines. I love them so much. They're just such a unique little thing that we have in motorsport, and it's great to have a couple of them roaring around Phillip Island here in this race. Of course, the one that we were looking at on screen, and Andy Tudor's machine now. In the meantime, that is one of the Mark Ford Focuses just coming around the final corner there, being rounded up by Courtney Prince in the number 8. So she's going to fly past this car by the time they get to the end of the straight. Look at the size of the gap now, just for reference. About 3 or 4, 5 seconds or so. Doesn't really account for much because they're on different laps here. But that car will be a little bit. It's not going to take very long for Courtney Prince to round out that car. 133.47 last time around. So Prince might have just told it, yeah, look, we're putting fresh rubber on, but just go a little bit easy. Maybe it was genuinely a case of her just chewing up those tyres a little bit too quickly in the first stint.
I'm not sure, but whatever it was, she's got a fresh set of boots on, and that's always a good thing for someone as competitive as her and as fast as her. Just watching this car come around with the lights on, the livery ablaze, it's just beautiful to watch.
It's really well presented. You can see just how, just a little bit bumpy that run into turn 4 is as well on the brakes, so it's such a tricky corner to get right when you're jumping on the anchors there because you just come out of the long left-hander of Stoner, trying to get the car squared up. and you're trying to get it nice and even. Now, this is going to be a sight. Roaring up what is effectively a back straight. We're going to turn it up so you can have a listen to this beautiful engine underneath this Audi.
I miss it. the Audi has a beautiful hum, and actually when it goes down the straight past you, oh, listen to that.
That is pretty good, I tell you what.
Listen to that. But when it goes down past you on the straight, it's just got this beautiful hover type hum, and that's all that aero working in the V10. Just lovely.
It's just so harmonious, isn't it?
That's racing. That's the sound of racing, Matt.
It is. That's what dreams are made of.
Absolutely.
So just over 30 seconds to go in this race, which means they'll come around and be given one extra lap. So this is the last lap, is what I'm hearing in my ears at the moment. They are just getting the last lap board ready down in the pit lane. So checkered flag will not be too far away. And what a weekend it's been for this number 8 car. Has been on the pace, has been rapidly quick all weekend long. Both in the hands of Courtney Prince and Michael Kokonos, who started this race in the number 8 car, who didn't get a whole chance to run very much, obviously, with that second race being cancelled for the sports cars yesterday, but it has not affected this car's pace at all.
No, actually, he'll be really happy with this pace run. I think he was in the 33s, which is great for Michael. And seeing Courtney, being able to give Courtney an opportunity to get in a GT3 for the first time.
Sorry, that acceleration out of Siberia.
Phenomenal.
Oh, jeez.
Giving her a chance to get into a GT3 when that's the category that she's hunting to drive in. Michael's been more than happy, and I'm involved with the team as well, more than happy to get her into that car, and she has just made this thing sing. The body language on the car when it comes around looks so settled, so calm, so smooth. That's down to the driver.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where smooth driving, it's so hard to appreciate if you don't know what you're looking at, but it really is the fastest way around the track. I am seeing the last lap board is out for the 67 car, but the checkered flag is at the ready for Courtney Prince, who has dominated the 1 hour race here and will take out the Victorian Tourist Trophy.
Oh, no,
that's Ben Schutz in the gravel at Lukey Heights, I believe that is. What an unfortunate end to that race for the number 65. That means Grant Donaldson is going to take second place back from the number 65. That Sin R1 is not getting out of that gravel trap in a hurry. Local yellows will be slowing everyone down there. What a shame.
The driving on Ben this weekend in this hour-long race. Let's look at this replay.
Just sounded like
the brakes. That looks like a little bit of brake fade to me. Honestly, the driving he's done, and he did look a bit tentative on those brakes, but my God. Whoop,
this battle's not over yet. This is the number 70 of Daniel Quimby ahead of the 66 of Matt Slavin. They got 2 corners left here. They didn't have the passing opportunity over Lukey into MG. It looks like Daniel Quimby's going to have the gap, but can there be any slipstream gotten? There looks to be a little bit of something hanging off the front of there. So whether these two have been getting into some action we haven't been seeing around the track, can the number 66 of Slavin get a bit of a slipstream? It's going to be tight, but it's going to be Quimby who crosses the stripe to get 6th position. We missed, so that's actually 5th position as we see Stephen Lacey coming into the lane.
What is going on in the last few seconds of this race? All of it's coming undone. Ben had such an amazing race. Stephen Lacey had such an amazing race. And they've got DNFs now. How horrible is that to finish your weekend on? I'm so sorry, guys.
What a shame for Stephen Lacey. That car has been so quick. It had been doing so well. Sports sedans, it was cleaning everyone up, but they just had to pull it into the lane. So a vastly different finishing order to what we were expecting, but
let's enjoy the European parade coming into the pits now.
This is what we like to see, like all these beautifully presented machines. That Cayman is a lovely looking car, that GT4
it's beautiful.
As well.
And he's got a new one coming.
Oh, look out for that one. There's the 130 of Andy Hall. Daniel Quimby, who finished in 5th position with Tim Wolf there in 6th. Now, here are your final results. Courtney Prince by 14.5 seconds with that extra pit stop in hand. Grant Donaldson making his way up into 2nd there as a result of Ben Schutz's unfortunate journey into the gravel there. Andy Hall ending up on the podium as a result of that, with Daniel Quimby and Matt Slavin 4th and 5th respectively. Ben Schutz and Steve Lacey will not be classified, so it will be Andy Tudor from 6th position, Jake Donaldson in 7th, and Sunil Vora will be making his way up into 8th position. So Dave Allen and Jonathan Crossing will be rounding out our provisional top 10 as a result, and behind them, The Leithhead vehicle, the Leithhead car ahead of Steven Sluger, that number 68. Anthony D'Alessandro bringing that one home in 15th, the Cayman that we saw earlier, with Stephen Baker in the 63, the last of the runners that we have on track in that Lamborghini. So that's just the drivers who finished the races in those cars. We've got to give a massive shout out to every driver who was out there in any of these cars at all.